After 36 years, Star Trek is finally calling out its most controversial movie. It's been 36 years since Star Trek V, The Final Frontier, first hit theaters, and for decades, the franchise has mostly tiptoed around it. Among Trek fans, it has long held the dubious honor of being the most divisive, most ridiculed, and least rewatchable of the classic movies. But now, Star Trek is finally doing what it has never dared before, directly addressing the final frontier and reckoning with its infamous legacy. And honestly, it's about time. The Black Sheep of the Enterprise. Released in 1989 and directed by William Shatner himself, Star Trek V, The Final Frontier tried to explore grand philosophical ideas, God, faith, family, and pain, but ended up marooned in a confused narrative marred by budget problems, tone whiplash, and an ending that's still a punchline. What does God need with a starship? Critics panned it, fans largely dismissed it, and even the studio quickly moved on to greener and more coherent pastures with Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country. While other Star Trek movies have been reappraised over the years, Nemesis found new defenders. Insurrection was mildly forgiven. The Final Frontier remained the franchise's unspoken embarrassment. Even Star Trek's own writers rarely acknowledged it in universe, treating it as a strange anomaly rather than an integral part of the mythos. Strange New Worlds breaks the silence. But now, Star Trek, Strange New Worlds has cracked the airlock wide open. In the show's third season, a key storyline alludes directly to the core themes and even plot points of the Final Frontier. From references to Spock's half-brother and one of the most controversial additions to canon to an exploration of the same dangerous religious extremism that propelled the fifth film, Strange New Worlds is clearly not avoiding the Final Frontier anymore. It's reclaiming it. The show's creators have even gone on record saying they want to redeem parts of the Star Trek canon that didn't get a fair shake. And there's no bigger candidate for that redemption arc than Star Trek V. Instead of running from the film's failures, the series is daring to engage with its intentions, examining Spock's twisted vision, giving nuance to his beliefs, and even finding parallels between his ideology and current cultural questions about blind faith versus reason. Why now? So why is Star Trek finally willing to shine a light on its most ignored chapter? For one, enough time has passed. 36 years creates distance, and that distance allows for reflection. Modern Trek is increasingly concerned with continuity and legacy, thanks to the success of shows like Picard, which dove deep into 1990s era characters and plot threads. Revisiting older, less explored stories is a natural next step. But more importantly, today's Trek is smarter, bolder, and more willing to embrace complexity. In 1989, The Final Frontier was mocked because it asked metaphysical questions in a franchise known more for diplomacy and logic. Now, in an era where shows like Discovery and Strange New Worlds regularly delve into mental health, spirituality, and identity, those same questions feel much more at home. Suddenly, Spock doesn't seem ridiculous, he seems tragic. Re-examining Spock's brother. Perhaps the biggest shift comes from the re-evaluation of Spock himself. Once dismissed as a caricature, Spock is now being reconsidered as a reflection of Spock's own inner conflict. Logic versus emotion, Vulcan versus human, faith versus science. In Strange New Worlds, Spock is presented not as a maniac but as someone driven by deep pain and purpose, much like many great Trek villains. What The Final Frontier tried to do, albeit clumsily, was explore the idea that pain defines us. That hiding from it, suppressing it, is a lie. In today's storytelling climate, that message resonates more than it did in the Reagan-era summer blockbuster scene. The time is right to revisit the message, even if the movie itself didn't fully deliver it. Fan response. A surprising shift. Unsurprisingly, longtime fans are divided about this sudden embrace of Star Trek V. Some see it as a long overdue recognition that even the worst Trek has something meaningful to offer. Others worry that rehabilitating The Final Frontier is like trying to polish dilithium dust. But a new generation of fans, those who didn't grow up during the movie's backlash,